All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Hummingbot live stream. And today we have something that's a bit special. We're going to talk a bit about the dYdX Bounty. And if you want to see all the details, you can check on our website. Let me just roll a bit. So it started already, the signups and everything like that. So we have two bounties for grab. One is about the creating a new strategy using the dYdX exchange as the perpetual exchange is important to make it the best strategy that you can using the dYdX. And the other one is a content bounty, where we're going to reward those that create more content related to using dYdX and Hummingbot, right? So what makes today special is that I'm going to bring Correy from dYdX to talk a bit about the exchange and the bounty in general. And you guys are free to ask anything you want about the bounty to us. We'll do our best to answer all those questions, right? So hello, Correy. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming. We from Hummingbot, we are pretty excited with this bounty because it is a pretty important exchange on the crypto space. And you guys always, from what I have seen and I have been following, you guys always try to do a lot of different new stuffs that bring the decentralization of markets even better every day. So what can you tell us more about dYdX?
Yeah, absolutely. So from a high level, dYdX is a decentralized exchange. We actually were started in 2018 as a margin exchange that still exists today. So you could trade on layer one, trade ETH, DAI, and USDC on margin with up to 5x leverage. We have since launched a perpetuals product, which is what our core focus is now. We started with perpetuals on layer one. So we were the first, I would say, decentralized perpetuals product out there. So we launched a BTC perp. We then launched like an ETH and a Chainlink perp all on layer one. And then earlier this year, we launched a perpetuals exchange on layer two using Starkware. I guess from a high level, the advantages to trading on our layer two exchange is all users could trade with zero gas costs, which is a really big innovation, I would say, and a really big boost to user experience. Users could trade with cross margining, which is especially useful for people doing things like market making and arbitrage. So that could be, I would definitely highlight that as a core feature, especially in the context of this conversation. You could gain up to 25x leverage now on our layer two system. And yeah, since then we've launched, I think we have 23 assets now live, or 23 perps now live on the layer two exchange. Mm-hmm. So it's getting very similar to trading on a centralized exchange. I should note the only asset that we use as collateral is USDC. And so you could deposit USDC on the layer two, and you could trade Bitcoin, ETH, and you can kind of just go down the list up to, those 23 assets. And we're going to be launching more very soon. And, from a traction standpoint, we have quite a bit of liquidity on the platform already, which has been great. In terms of trading volume, it's been growing pretty much exponentially lately as well. So today was our first day where we hit over $800 million in 24-hour trading volume.
That's awesome.
And I would say one other thing to note, just relating to dYdX more broadly, is that the dYdX Foundation, they launched a dYdX token earlier this month, which has been fueling a lot of our growth. And so we have a few different liquidity mining programs live right now, which could be pertinent to this conversation too. Where you can earn dYdX tokens by trading on dYdX in a variety of ways. All of that information is public on the foundation's website. But if anyone has any questions around that, also happy to give some high-level overviews there.
Yeah, that's great. This also opens us some extra possibilities that we haven't considered when we wrote the announcement of strategies. If with the liquidity mining, maybe there is a way to tap into that campaigns and the liquidity campaigns that you already have inside the exchange, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a very interesting strategy might be to do some sort of liquidity mining on the exchange. So yeah, if people are interested and might want to get creative with that, I think that could be a great idea.
Cool, that's awesome. So let's talk a bit back a bit to the bounty. So we have, just to tell everyone, a reminder that October 1st will be the last day for submissions. Quick detail is that to do your submission, you have to use this branch that we created especially for dYdX. So every new submission you have must be sent as a pull request to this branch. That's where we're going to evaluate all the submissions. And as an example, there was another one that we did a past hackathon that's also related to trading strategy. So if anyone is interested to look what would be a good submission, this specific one is very well written, very well detailed. And one thing that we mentioned is that the description of the submission is pretty important, because for us to be able to evaluate what's the plan inside the strategy that you guys are creating, we need to understand what you're trying to do, right? So always as the best that you can do on the description of the submission, the better, so we have better tools to evaluate, right? Okay, so a quick detail here is that we added a few examples to the let me just find it where it is. Yes, okay, so we added 3 examples here, right? 3-4 examples on the bounty. And I wanted to hear from you, Correy. Which of them do you think are one of the most interesting that the devs could look into implementing with the strategy, the ideas?
Yeah. I mean, personally, my favorite one, which I think could be quite impactful, would be the funding rate arbitrage strategy. And so from a high level, what that really means is, every perpetual market, whether it's on dYdX or a centralized exchange like Binance or FTX or, choose any centralized exchange, each market has its own funding rate, which is an interest rate that either longs pay shorts or shorts pay longs, depending on what basically what the price is relative to the spot price on each market. And so naturally, funding rates are going to differ across markets and exchanges. And so, for instance, if you're trading a Bitcoin perpetual on dYdX and you're trading one on Binance, let's say, the funding rates could be quite different. And what we've seen, given that dYdX is still pretty early on, there has been quite big differences between the funding rates on dYdX and the major centralized exchanges. And so theoretically, what you could do is take the position on dYdX and earn the funding rate on dYdX, and then take the opposite position on a centralized exchange. And then you would, at that point in time, be completely hedged. And then you would earn the delta between the two funding rates. And so on an annualized basis, let's say the funding rate is like 50% on dYdX, and on Binance, it's like 10%. You could take those two opposing positions and then earn that delta, which would be 40%, and you would be completely hedged. So in that way, it's very much like a risk-free strategy. And if you compare that to the interest rates you would get in a lot of lending pools and whatnot, that would be much higher than what the lending rates are today, which I think is probably somewhere around 5%. And so in that example, I kind of just threw random numbers out, but you could earn quite a bit by doing that.
Yeah, that's true. Basically, you are taking a totally neutral position because you have one sell, one buy, and over time, as the funding rate time hits, what you're going to do is you're going to profit the difference between the two exchanges rates, right? Because eventually, even if they are on the same direction, the funding rates on the same direction, if there is a gap big enough, you are going to receive more on one side and pay a bit less on the other, and then you capture this difference. Yeah, I also agree. It's a pretty great low risk strategy to be implemented. A personal note that I have when I looked into it, the two personal notes actually, is that in theory you could do it manually, but the problem is the rate arbitrage can vary very suddenly. And this is a bit hard if you're looking manually through what's the funding rate arbitrage. So in a sense, to do a proper and profitable, you will need an automatic system, a bot. That's why one of the reasons that we built the Hummingbot for this type of strategies. And the second one is that there's an interesting, I would say, an interesting feature across different exchanges is that the funding rate isn't necessarily the same for every exchange, right? So some of them is 1 hour, some of them is 8 hours, others are 24 hours. So yeah, if any of you guys are building one of it, I think this is something that you should take in consideration, because it's something that could somehow have to adapt to the frame between each of these different exchanges. What's the period of the dYdX?
Right. Yeah. So the dYdX period is we settle it every 1 hour, which is the same as how FTX settles it. But for instance, Binance, they do it every 8 hours. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So they do it every 8 hours. So yeah, you're right. There is a bit of a difference there that you might want to account for in the strategy.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah, I personally have to say that one of what I wanted to see from the community would be a complement to a spot market maker strategy, right? Because one of the core concepts of doing market making is that your positions should be neutral, right? So you shouldn't be losing or gaining any huge amount of money specifically inside due to the market movement, to the change of price on the market. So the perpetuals is a great way to hedge these positions, right? So one thing I would love to see is someone using this perpetual market from the dYdX to leverage another market making strategy. So this would improve a lot the whole, especially for those, I would say, especially for those that don't have too much capital to handle the risk of the price movements where you get your inventory at a bad position. But yeah, these are really, really great. And
I think a perpetual to perpetual arbitrage could be very enticing as well. And so basically, again, as I mentioned earlier, you can earn rewards now from trading on dYdX. And so basically, the more you trade, there's a formula that's basically fees paid combining with open interest. So as long as you have both fees paid and open interest at each point in time, you're going to be earning a certain percentage of dYdX tokens. And so if you wanted to do that in a market neutral way, you could certainly do so, which would theoretically mean you take positions, for example, in one market, let's say Ethereum, you start trading a lot of Ethereum, and then you're going to hedge that position by taking the opposite side on a different exchange. And so, if you combine that, especially with perpetual like arbitrage from a pricing standpoint, you can earn money both on the delta between the price on dYdX and the price on a different exchange. And then as a booster, you're going to potentially earn even more dYdX tokens, and that's just going to increase your return profile.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm going to try it one of these days soon. I'm going to try it. It's a great idea. Yeah. Yeah. Usually, personally, I try to avoid a bit as I can on the using perpetuals futures market. It's mostly that I look at them more as a hedge tool for myself, right? So it's really great when you have a certain spot position and you want to protect that position. So that's really great for the future markets to be used, a great way for it. And it's really cool to see that when you add that layer of extra rewards to that, you are at the same time protecting your position and still generating some returns on that protected position. So this is a really great way to tap into the possibilities that you can do with perpetuals.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. Another thing also, I think it's really interesting. I haven't seen many Hummingbot specific strategies related to it, but one of the great things that one of the great advantages I think that cryptocurrency have from other markets is that the public blockchain, the transactions on the blockchain are public, and it's possible for everyone to look into what's happening on the blockchain and apply it to your trading strategy, right? So I mean, it's kind of the essence of it, to have data, good data, process the data, and then apply this data to the strategy. So I think that's also a great way that you can build a strategy around the dYdX exchange using data directly from the chains, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then I guess maybe to mention one more strategy that we kind of talked about in the blog post as well, but could be interesting to talk about here very briefly, is the correlation strategy. So as you know, a lot of altcoins trade with high beta, both to Bitcoin and Ethereum, but in some instances they lag those moves, right? And so in an example where, let's say, Ethereum is up 10% over the course of 1 hour, one might expect that other altcoins will increase over the course of the coming hours or very shortly thereafter. And so one interesting strategy could be to track correlation. So if Ethereum is up X%, you might want to start trading or going long some of the altcoins that we have on the exchange, for example. And yeah, as I mentioned, we have quite a bit of markets available to do so. We have the long tail of like DeFi assets. We have other emerging layer ones like Ethereum and Avalanche, or sorry, like Solana and Avalanche. Yeah, we're going to be continuing to add more assets. So to the extent that there's some interesting strategies there, trading a lot of altcoins, dYdX could certainly be the place to do so.
Yeah, it's interesting also that you can build a correlation strategy both on assets that have a close correlation and those that have opposing correlations, right? Yeah. So you can kind of trade on different directions based on this correlation. So yeah, it's pretty wide possibilities that you can the devs can develop on there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's a question here on the chat. I'm not sure, Paul, if I understand your question. What can the dYdX token use it for on the exchange? Oh yeah. That's a question for you, Correy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can be done with the tokens.
Yeah. So right now, the tokens are purely governance tokens to govern the protocol itself. However, there is one aspect that is notable to having dYdX tokens and also trading on the exchange, which is you can earn fee discounts. So if you hold dYdX, you could earn certain percentage fee discounts, which are that whole table is public on our website. But yeah, beyond that, the main focus and utility of the dYdX token is purely for governance. And so for things such as adding new markets to the exchange, or updating some of the risk parameters, or paying out things out of the community treasury, things like that. That is mainly what the dYdX token is meant for.
Right. Awesome. Governance token is something that I always catch my interest, because it's cool to see that we can use the concept of decentralization in cryptocurrencies and all that to give not necessarily control, but at least give a voice to everyone that has a stake, is involved with that specific platform. So yeah, I also, it's really great to have this more and more type of governance models being created.
Yeah, for sure. We're pretty excited about it. I mean, I think, again, dYdX was one of the earliest DeFi protocols, but I guess we were one of the latest ones to actually launch a token. But having said that, we were able to, or rather the foundation was able to include a lot of the past users of the protocol. So we did something called like a retroactive mining program, where the foundation, they gave the ability for users who have previously used dYdX protocol, be it on the spot exchange or the margin exchange, to earn more dYdX by trading on the layer 2 exchange. And so with that, I think they gave the ability for over like 64,000 Ethereum addresses to earn dYdX via this retroactive mining program. And so, if you assume that most of those addresses actually claim, that would mean that dYdX is instantly kind of like one of the largest protocols out there in terms of distribution. So stuff like that is really interesting. And I think we could hopefully expect for more people to use the exchange, and therefore hopefully participate in growing the protocol in the future.
Right. Cool. Yeah, I think I'll check back to dYdX, see if I got some of these. Right. So another question there, because our bounty is related, we have two parts of the bounty, right? So we have the idea of creating a new strategy, and the other part is to create content related to Hummingbot and dYdX. So what kind of content to expect would be great to see on this bounty?
Yeah, so I think the content bounty, there are a couple of like pretty low-hanging fruits that I think people could utilize. So basically, a YouTube video or a video more broadly that simply just shows how to set up a connector and basically just like get onboarded to the exchange via Hummingbot would be extremely valuable. So basically doing a screen recording, maybe with some voice overlay, just describing the process, how to import your keys into Hummingbot, and kind of just get started would be really, really helpful. So that's number one. And then number two, I think if you didn't want to do a video, you could simply just do an article that has very detailed instructions with screenshots, kind of outlining the same exact process, just over text. So both of those, I think, would be extremely useful and helpful, and would definitely be utilized by a lot of people who are eager to kind of get spun up on dYdX using Hummingbot.
Yeah, that's true. Today I have to say that to me to use Hummingbot today, it's pretty easy and straightforward. But I have to agree that since it's something that's a bit different from what we're used to, it's a CLI interface. You have to type commands. You need a bit of time to get used to how things work. It isn't hard to use. It's easy, but you definitely need some time to start getting the feel of use it. right? So yeah, I would say that what would be also interesting to see would be like examples and what are the effects if we take some strategy that exists. For example, we take spot perpetual arbitrage or the market making arbitrage, like explaining how the strategy works, showing what's happening on the dYdX, what's the effect of the strategy inside the dYdX exchange, and these kind of things would also be great to see, to watch. It's really useful information for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And something that just came to mind, if you were doing a strategy for this bounty, if you're creating a new strategy, if you also wanted to make content for that specific strategy, kind of outlining how it works, all the different parameters and stuff like that, I think you could certainly be eligible for the content bounty as well. And so that could be pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's true. And adding to that, here's an idea. You could also create this content, not only how the strategy works, the strategy, but also you building the strategy. Because a key piece that we focus with Hummingbot is to have this possibility, this way that over time we are always trying to make it easier and better for everyone, but to everyone who wants to create their own customized strategy, so he would be able to do so. So it could be also be an interesting content to create as you build your submission for the strategy. You also show how you're building it on to make it run correctly and what's needed to make it work properly, especially specifically with the dYdX, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think any content that would kind of go into how to build a strategy would be really helpful. Hopefully this won't be the only bounty that we ever run together. So stuff like that could certainly be useful for future bounties as well.
Indeed, that's true. That's true. All right. So any more questions from the chat? No new questions from Discord. So you guys that are watching have a few more minutes before close up. So send your questions now. A few things to wrap it up, right? I already mentioned that you need to use the branch that's specific, the dYdX Bounty. For contents, if you can reach us out on Discord. We still need to kind of figure out how they're going to publish. There's a few details, but if you are creating the content, reach us on our Discord. We have a specific channel that's for discussion around the dYdX Bounty. So our development team is always looking into it. If you have questions, how to do something to create a strategy, some part of the strategy creation you don't understand, feel free to go to our Discord, ask there. Our team will be around to answer the best as we can. And for the content, also we'll be around and also reach us to Discord so we can talk a bit about what's going to be the better way to publish the submissions and do all the process related to the bounty, right? What else? So we also have a Reddit page. So if you want to have questions and bring more discussion with other users, you can also use our Reddit page. There is the announcements there. You can also add there. And so what else do we have for here? Let me check. I'll ask the team to also add the link to register for the bounty. There is a type form that you need to fill out just for us to keep a list of everyone that signed up. And well, I guess that's it for now. So Correy, what else do you want to say to close this up? This is a great chat.
Thanks for having me on. I think we covered most of it, but yeah, if anyone has any other additional questions, perhaps more specific to dYdX Exchange, feel free to hop into our Discord as well. We're happy to answer any questions, and yeah, we all hang out in there too. So hopefully we could answer anything you may have pretty quickly.
All right, that was great. Thanks again, Correy, for coming. And to everyone else doing the participating the bounty, good luck, good work, and keep in touch so we can help you however we can. Bye, everyone. See you, and see you guys on the next live stream.